What's up again, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome back to Ages of Film, and today I'm going to be reviewing the movie The Wolverine from 2013, directed by James Mangold. But before I get into the review, just a few things to mention. First off, I just want to say what is up to all my new subscribers out there. Thank you very much for being here, for joining the pack, and hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed already and you're enjoying the content, go ahead and do that. It's another way to help out the channel. I also just want to apologize to anyone who may have been expecting or wanting more content the past couple weeks. Haven't really been able to push much content out there. Had a crazy busy past couple weeks, was doing a lot of traveling, had some things I had to take care of. Anyone who doesn't know, I'm also in film school, so I'm a full-time film student, have a full-time job, I travel, I got my hands in a lot of jars, so it's not always easy for me to find time to sit down and record and review a movie. I do my best and I do what I can, but I do appreciate all of you very much for being here, and I love all you guys, so thank you for the support, and thanks for tuning in. We already reviewed the first Wolverine movie in the trilogy, X-Men Origins, The Wolverine. And so this is the second chapter in this trilogy, and then obviously there's Logan that follows. So I'm gonna knock out this one and Logan, and then after Logan, I just want to let you guys know that there may not be a whole lot of content coming out rapidly, but there's going to be some bigger content coming out. So I'm working on a few projects right now that involve a lot of movies to be watched. So I'm also watching a lot of movies for those projects. And when I get done with them, I do plan on dropping them and sharing them with you guys so you guys can enjoy them. But they're going to be longer videos. So the couple I'm thinking of will probably be over an hour, or around the hour, 60-minute mark. So it's probably not going to be as many reviews or as much content coming out, but the ones I do drop are going to be more full of movies and content to talk about. So just let you guys know that after the Logan review, it may be a little bit of time before we get new content, but the content that you do get is going to be full of a lot of stuff. So look forward to doing that. But all that out of the way, let's talk Wolverine. So yeah, released in 2013, directed by James Mangold. Obviously, we got Hugh Jackman coming back in this one to play Logan / Wolverine. I've said it multiple times already in the past few reviews. I'm not a big Marvel guy. So if you're wondering, if you want to get my thoughts on the Marvel movies and the Marvel stuff, I'm not a big Marvel guy. All right. If you're new to my channel, I'm a huge Batman fan, massive Batman fan. Batman is my favorite superhero. I'm definitely more of a DC guy, much more familiar with DC. Love DC, love the characters there, and Batman is my first love. So, big Batman fan, but there are certain Marvel characters that I love. Wolverine is one of those Marvel characters that I've grown up with. I remember watching the X-Men animated show growing up as a kid. Loved Wolverine. That was kind of my introduction to Wolverine. Was the X-Men animated series. I was watched as a kid. Had Wolverine action figures and stuff. So I have grown up knowing and loving Wolverine as a character. So I do really like Wolverine. He's one of few Marvel characters I do really like. As far as this movie, though, there are positives with it. There are negatives with it. It's not a perfect film, but it's still good. I do still like this movie. So just getting into some of the positives here with this movie, some of the things I do really like about it. The cinematography. That was kind of a standout for me. I really liked the camera framing in this film. The lighting was good. The exposure was good. That's actually my degree is in cinematography. That's the degree I'm working on getting in film school is a degree in cinematography. So I always pay close attention to the cinematography in movies, watching what the camera's doing, how it's framed, the decisions of where the camera's put in each shot, the color patterns, the lighting, the exposure, all that stuff are things that I pay close attention to in movies, being a cinematography student. So yeah, and I did really like the cinematography in this film. I thought it looked really good. The lighting was good. The exposure I thought was flawless all the way through. The camera framing looked really good for the most part. Really enjoyed and liked the cinematography in this movie. Also, the visual effects. I thought the visual effects were really good. James Mangold, I thought, handled that stuff really well. The practical effects looked very good, very clean, very believable. But then the CGI stuff also looked really good and fluid. So the blending there of the visual effects I thought was pulled off really essentially flawlessly. There weren't really any issues I had at all with the visual effects in this movie. So that would be something that was a strong positive for me, was the visual effects in the movie. Also the score. I really enjoyed the score in this movie. I thought it did its job. It got the emotions out of me that it was trying to get out of me. I thought it enhanced the overall experience that I had with the movie. I thought the score was handled really well and was an enjoyable score to listen to, and it did its job at the end of the day. The action I thought was directed well for the most part. You know, some of the fight scenes with the ninjas and stuff. The choreography there, I thought James Mangold pulled that off. It looked good. It looked clean. Honestly, I would have liked more of it. I would have liked a longer fight scenes with the ninjas, more of that action, because what we got of it was really good, and I thought it was fun, it was exciting, and it looked good as well. So the action and the pacing was really good. It wasn't just all action to where you get kind of exhausted and you need some slower moments, but it also didn't drag, really, in my opinion, for too long without having some action in there. So that the pacing and the setup was good throughout the movie as well. The acting was good. I really liked the acting. I like what Hugh Jackman brought to the character of Wolverine in this movie, the character of Logan, some nuances from the past performances that he had given with Wolverine. And by this point, 2013, I mean, he had done the initial 3 X-Men movies. He had done X-Men Origins. He had done, I believe, Days of Future Past as well. That may have been a year after this movie. I'm not sure. But I know he had either finished it or was already working on Days of Future Past as well. So he had plenty of time with the character of Wolverine, playing that character, and yet he still brings some nuances to that character in this movie, and I thought that was really good acting. He always has a lot of charisma and brings a lot of energy to the screen. It just has a natural, likable vibe about him. He's very good in that role as a kind of an anti-hero, but someone that you can tell is still pure and good at heart. So I thought the acting was good by Wolverine, and even, the surrounding cast, for the most part, I thought was pretty good in the acting department. It was entertaining. It kept my attention through the film. I wasn't really ever bored or drawn out. I wasn't looking at my phone all the time. Like, it kept my attention. It has some rewatch value to it, in the sense that if I came back to this movie, I could watch it and be entertained with it. So I did find the movie entertaining, and I did like that we got a character arc in this movie as well by Logan. Good character writing in this film. We get an arc here from Logan. This is a movie really about loss, with dealing with the theme of loss. In this movie, Logan has lost a lot at this point. Even the characters around him are also dealing with loss. We have the loss of the older Asian guy in the movie, who we think is dead. The loss of the daughter, the one guy. Like, a number of characters are dealing with loss throughout this movie. That's kind of the theme throughout this film. And Logan, he's still carrying around that guilt, that weight that he has from the loss of Jean Grey in, X-Men: The Last Stand. And he's still carrying a lot of that with him. And he has to come to a point in this movie where he has to make a decision, a moment of testing for the character. And that moment comes towards the end, when he has to make this decision. Is he going to fight to live and stay alive, or is he just kind of welcome death, welcome his fate, and die, really? And throughout the movie, we get just this very kind of somber version of Logan, where we get the sense that he doesn't really care to live anymore. He doesn't really have a reason to live anymore. He's kind of willing and ready to go to the other side and to meet his fate. But what he learns throughout this movie, and where the art comes in, is he finds that anchor. He finds that reason to live again. And he comes to the point where he's willing to let Jean go, and he's willing to let that guilt go. He's willing to let go of his loss in order to live. And to me, that's a theme, and that's something that resonates with me personally. And I always gravitate to those types of stories in films about, finding a reason to keep going, finding a reason to live, finding a reason to not, throw in the towel, so to speak. And so I like that character development with Logan in this movie, that we get that moment of testing for the character, and that arc for the character in the film. So that was a big positive for me as well. And I like that they explored, it was a movie that had something to say. It actually explored a thematic theme throughout the movie. So yeah, those are all positives for me with the movie. Moving into the negatives, there are some negatives I do have with this film. I don't think it's as good as X-Men Origins, personally. I know there are some people that love this movie and are really high on this film, and if that's you, great. I love that people love this movie, and I do like the movie. I just don't think it's quite as good as the first Wolverine movie. The issues I have with it have more of a negative impact on me than the negatives I had with Origins. But getting into some of those negatives, for me, one of the negatives here is the story. I didn't really care for the story in this movie. It just didn't really do much for me. It wasn't a story that that pulled me in, that I was really interested in. Logan meets this, the Japanese girl, and finds out that there's this guy that he served with in World War II that might have a cure for his healing, and allow him to die in peace. And just the whole film kind of takes place in Japan for the most part, but it's just the story as a whole just wasn't something I really cared for. I don't really care to see, a story about Logan trying to escape from his healing factor and trying to, still struggling with letting go of a girl. Like, this is a guy, when you think about it, Logan's like 200 years old, almost. Like, he's almost 200 years old, and yet he's still hung up on this one girl that I don't really even think he established that much chemistry with throughout the 3 X-Men movies. And yet he's still so hung up on this one girl. He's gone years carrying around this love and this guilt over her. I just don't know that I buy that. I don't know that I buy that Logan would be in that place. I mean, you gotta think that there had to have been girls prior to Jean Grey that Logan had feelings for, and yet there's nothing that indicates that he's hung up on them, that he's still carrying around that kind of weight with them that he is over Jean Grey, who he never really even got to have an open relationship with, because she was with Scott for most of the time. So I don't know, for me, the story here of while I appreciate that they were actually pursuing a theme, there's a theme behind it, the story itself for Logan, and the kind of the ride that we go on here, it just wasn't a story that really did much for me. Also, the side characters, like outside of Wolverine, there really weren't any characters here that I really cared about that much. None of them really, I didn't find them really interesting characters. I didn't really care a whole lot about them. They didn't really bring a whole lot of energy or charisma. They weren't really memorable characters. When I saw this movie in theaters when it came out in 2013, and I hadn't seen it again until this review, until I watched it back for this review. And before I started the movie up, I sat there and I tried to remember characters from this movie, and I couldn't. Like, I didn't remember anyone in this movie outside of obviously Logan. The characters just weren't very memorable characters. They didn't really do anything for me. So I thought the characters were kind of just flat here. Also, the antagonist, I didn't like the antagonist in this movie, to be quite honest. I don't think they used her very well. I thought there's some potential there, but I don't think the execution was fully there for me. The fact that she's just able to spit poison at Logan, and that's supposed to somehow override his healing ability, makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, why would some toxin or poison stop Wolverine's healing? Like, one, how would she know that would stop Wolverine's healing? Secondly, why did no one else prior to her ever think about, oh, let's just poison him? That his healing ability can't do anything about poison or toxins. Let's just poison him. No one ever thinks about that. But this one girl shoots some magic fairy dust at him, and now he can't heal because there's this bug attached to his heart. I don't make the rules. All right, I'm just saying what happened. She was weak, in my opinion. The idea of taking Logan's healing factor away is an interesting idea, and I think there's something you could do with that. But what they decide to do with that, I don't think work. It's because I don't buy that that's how you get around his healing factor. I just don't buy it. But then the antagonist herself, I thought, was just used really poorly. She didn't get much screen time. We didn't learn much about her other than she's just this human viper thing that's going around shooting little magic fairy dust at people, poison fairy dust, I don't know. And then the way that she gets defeated is very anticlimactic. And Logan isn't even the one to defeat either the antagonist in this movie. He doesn't defeat her, and he doesn't defeat his little, World War II buddy, the Japanese guy. He literally doesn't defeat either one of them. He needs to rely on both of the women in the movie to save him. He's the damsel in distress in this movie. Instead of being the hero, instead of being the one that comes in and saves people, he's the damsel in distress, and he can't even, fight his way out of the plot, out of the conflict here. So that was kind of a problem for me. It may not be a problem for you, but that was just some decisions I didn't like and I didn't really care for in this movie. And so there was things like that throughout the film that I thought could have been done better. Also, the what they do with the main Asian guy, I don't remember his name, guys. I'm sorry, but they fake his death, right? In the first act, they fake like he dies just to bring him back in the third act. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. Like, he was already essentially dead when, in that first act. But the fact that he can just fake his death, nobody catches on, nobody knows, and then he just suddenly comes back on scene in the third act, it felt very forced. It didn't feel natural, like a natural fake death. It felt like a forced fake death. It felt like they didn't know what to do with him throughout the movie, and it also felt like they didn't know how to tie these other script decisions together, so they were just like, well, let's just bring him back in the third act, fake his death, so we have somebody to keep fighting Logan here. I don't know. It may have worked for you. It didn't work for me. So yeah, things like that. And then also with Logan, like, he loses his healing ability. He gets it back just to fight the Viper chick and have it taken from him again just to get it back again. It just, again, it loses me. It loses me with that stuff. I felt like some of the editing, the structure here could have been structured better with that stuff. I think he should have only lost it once, and then once he gets it back, that's, now it's game time. Now it's time to dance. But that's not what happens. So, just some editing issues, some script issues, some decisions that they made with the story here don't really work for me. I didn't care for some of the characters. The villain wasn't an interesting villain, very forgettable villain, and just, again, didn't really work for me. So those are my thoughts, guys, on the Wolverine. Overall, my overall rating here would be 3 stars for the Wolverine. Still a good movie. It's still a movie I would say that I like. It's still a movie I would call a good film overall. 3 stars is a positive review. That's what it gets from me. I do think the good still outweighs the bad, but it is a film that does have issues for me. And yeah, those are my thoughts on the Wolverine. Please let me know your thoughts of this movie in the comment section. Do you agree with my rating? Do you love this movie? Do you hate this movie? Anything and everything you want to let me know in the comment section. All I ask, guys, is that you be respectful. And until next time, you know what it is. Kick it and rock on.